are again with Michael Ellis. Michael came to Wisconsin to film some new training videos. And as always, we collect questions and answers from customers. I have a customer here from Jackie in California. I've been watching the free Michael Ellis videos on your website, and am now in the process of watching the Training with Food video on your video on demand. Thank you, Jackie. I have a 12-week-old taller puppy, and I'm starting engagement training by using yes as the marker in release for this work, and it's going very nicely with a puppy. My question is that when I trained my other dogs in the past, I used okay as a release word when releasing them. For example, from a sit to eat their food, or when they had to wait to go outdoors, or at the start line in agility. If I continue to use okay as a release, in these different situations, will it confuse my puppy when I'm using yes in engagement and in interaction exercises with me? What would be the best way to handle this? Thanks so much for your help.
This is a super common question. So people confuse or worry about the difference between a release, just like, okay, we're done with this, it's okay to get up, it's okay to go out the door, it's okay to do any of those things, and our specific marker for obedience in training. And our marker is what's called a conditioned reinforcer, or a bridge, right? So it's a sound that predicts reward for the dog and is classically conditioned to be reinforcing in and of itself. So yes, the way you're using it in the training is a conditioned reinforcer. We call it a reward marker. The way we do it, it is also inherently a release, meaning it releases the dog from whatever behavior they were doing in order for them to access their reward. But theoretically, my dog could have as many different releases and conditioned reinforcers as I wanted. I can have okay for you to go out the door. I could have yippee for you to get up when you're sitting. I could have yes when I was going to give you a food reward. I can say house when I was going to give you a toy. I could break it up as much as I want. Obviously, that requires more work on your part to condition all those various sounds. But using okay to release your dog in the everyday world will not affect yes as a conditioned reinforcer in your work. Now, if you start using yes in your everyday life to release your dog to go out the door or to get up or anything like that, and you're not following it with a reward, then in the long run, yes, you will erode the power of your classically conditioned reward marker. So one of the reasons that we reinforce with a primary reinforcer, food or a toy or something, after our yes marker repeatedly is to keep that marker intact. Classical conditioning weakens over time if it's not followed up by a primary reinforcer. So make sure that when you're using yes, whenever possible, you're following it up with a reward, a primary reinforcer, a piece of food or a toy or whatever. And when you use okay to go out the door and things, that's fine. And the dog will distinguish the difference and will have no effect on your training.
Good one. I think that's a confusing thing with a lot of people.
A lot of people, yeah. People struggle with the difference. And I think it's important that dogs are really good at learning conceptually or contextually. So we do it all the time. We use certain words around the house for certain behaviors even, and then different words in the context of our specific competition work so that we keep meaning intact for those things. We don't allow them to get sloppy. And dogs can learn a wide variety of things. They can learn that down means down a certain way if I'm standing on a field, and down means something else in the living room. But in order to keep that from confusing the two, then we give them different words instead. And it's sort of the same with our releases or our markers. I can have a release that I use around the house that says, okay, it's all right if you move now, it's okay if you go out the door, it's okay if you get up, it's okay to get your food. And I can be less precise about it without having it affect my work. And then I'm very precise with the one that I use in my training so that I keep that communication tool intact. And the dog will figure out the difference really quickly. They're good at that. Dogs are amazingly good at figuring out contextual differences, actually.
Excellent. Really, really good. That was a good question, because we get a lot of questions like this on emails.